Good morning.
Morning.
Morning,
Well,
everybody.
Morning.
happy, we're late, but happy birthday, Sue and Michael Tutukian. I hope you had a good birthday, and I know Steve's birthday's coming up. Steve Sachs, happy birthday to you too.
Thank you.
Let's start. We have a couple of new people that they joined us, as you know, last month. We announced it. I don't see their name on yet. Let's see.
They said they're getting on.
Okay, I'll wait and introduce them when they get on. So today's meeting, we're gonna have Greg, who's part of a 1031 exchange, worked with my team previously, and we all know what 1031 exchange is, but I have asked him to focus on what's happening from his point of view, as far as the numbers, cancellations, market share, statistically, just share like for a few minutes. I think it's important for you to see what the trend looks like from his end. You know, like in title, we also notice openings and closings ratios, and that's a great way, especially in residential. But in commercial, it's much easier to have a source to look at the opening, closing, and what people are doing. And exchanges I personally believe are happening mostly, if they're happening right now, selling California, moving out. But I'm going to have that part, Greg, to take over and speak about that. But couple of things that I recently discovered that through new data, we believe that real estate market, when it comes to apartment buildings, when it comes to renters, that will be a 10 to 12% reduction in rent value if it hasn't happened yet. And that is not hyper local. We're not talking about just in our area, right? And that can be very different in different other cities, and depends where you're at. But we notice a lot of reduction on a rent, which we know what that means. That means if the price of the building is not the same, right? And the other thing that we noticed that, again, through the company that I was getting the data from, they mentioned that not a lot of transactions happening, but if they are, some of them are selling the properties and apartment building in LA County, and they're moving out of LA, if not out of state. A lot of people are holding their properties. They don't want to touch anything because they like to wait. And we know that the rule recently was extended to January 30th when it comes to the tenants law. And that had a big impact of anyone that thought, I'll wait until September once that rule is picked up and then I'll go ahead and sell. Now that got extended. All it means is it's like hear my analogy, it's a pipe, it's clogged, and you thought it's gonna open, the clock just moved a little bit further down, so you move a little bit, but then you stop again, and then so election is right around the corner. Even though personally I think there's people buying and selling, it doesn't mean you should stay home and do nothing because there's an election. There are things happening, but a lot of conversations with sellers will be, election is happening, I'm gonna wait, election is happening. So you gotta just practice the script when it comes to that conversation, because how's that going to help them? And if an inventory is low in a specific area and someone has an exchange, do they need to purchase that right away? So that's one. Another thing that I have a friend of mine that the parents been handling all the tenants, and she is definitely not, she has, if the parents pass, she will be in charge of 5 buildings. The smallest one is 24 units. And I was just talking to her, and she said that she is very artistic. She lives in Redondo Beach. She goes for a run. She smokes her weed afternoon, and she does not care about money, even though the parents are very wealthy. And she's just like, I am not responsible for those buildings. She won't do it. The mom is 85. So she is not going to collect rent. So she goes like, can you have someone to buy all of them together? So I I was just thinking what a great opportunity that would be for some people, right? But there are people that they no longer want to be in charge of have landlord-tenant relationships. It's not for everyone. So the study shows last 5 years, a lot of people that have some savings, they purchase apartment buildings because that was a safe zone. You park, it's a real estate, you get passive income. But there is a work goes with it, right? There's a risk factor with it, but they didn't calculate. So if you have hundreds of doors and you have 20% of them not paying, and you have a good tenant that for $800 to $2,000, depends how you will do the eviction, the process is more expensive. It's no longer 2,000. It's not 10-15% vacancy. So what happens if you put all your eggs and you put $300,000-$400,000 in one building, and you're rethinking, do I really want this building? So my comment to you is, if you're thinking about who do I have to go after, there are transactions happening, the ones that they don't want to be in this business anymore. The ones that are actually selling their primary resident and they're moving out of California. So they want to sell their San Bernardino property they bought recently, or they just want to move their assets as well. So that's a conversation you may want to have with your title rep and identify the people that in residential world they're moving. And this is why I think it's extremely important for you to participate. We are, as you know, the #1 real estate office in the Valley now. I'm very proud of that. But more importantly, we have a lot of residential agents. They do a lot of transactions. They have clients that they have properties. So you should interact with them, connect with them, grab the roster in our office and try to talk to them, especially that tough times right now that is not there. We don't have a lot of events for you to connect with them. Try to find out if they can give you a referral, because you all know 79% of appointments that happens on a referral goes with the first listing appointment agent. So if it's a referral, it's a done deal. So get a residential agent to do that job for you. And because my intention is to keep all of our referrals from our residential agents back to you. And you all have a different expertise, different areas, but we have great agents. I saw Ryan, is Mason on too? I don't think. Ryan, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I'm here. Mason's here as well.
Oh, awesome. Will you guys please first of all, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And maybe you can just, one of you tell everyone a little bit about your background, and so they know who you are, and we can then move to Greg.
Okay, great. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for welcoming us. We're based out of the South Bay region of Los Angeles. A lot of our business is focused down here. We recently joined a month ago. Really excited to be a part of this team and the growth that's happening here. Yeah, excited to hopefully get to meet all you in person sometime soon in the near future, and start doing deals together.
Thank you, Ryan. Mason?
Oh, hey guys. All right.
Hi.
Sorry about that. Just stepped out of the restroom really quickly. Yeah, I appreciate you welcoming us, Arma, and we're both really excited to get to know more people, I think, in the office for sure. And we're excited to have a South Bay presence, within this company. Ryan and I specialize in selling assets in the South Bay. So like Redondo Beach, Torrance, Hawthorne area. And, we look forward to doing some deals with you guys over here as well.
Would you please share with them the products that you guys started, because how you started in commercial and specifically you were supposed to work on, and then now you're trying to expand, and the area and the product, basically, just a little bit so they know your background.
Yeah, we specialize in multifamily. So currently we have a listing off market in Covina, 44-unit building, all 2 bedrooms, and that's an asset that, in the South Bay, so like the Torrance area, that's what we consider, ourselves specializing in. We have that listing from working with an owner who owns 17 buildings in the South Bay. And so we've leveraged a lot of our relationships from property management of primarily multifamily buildings into, client relationships for buying and selling.
Awesome. Maybe we just take this time, unmute yourself if you have any commercial property or a buyer, specific and a buyer that needs to be in escrow soon for many reasons. Go ahead and unmute yourself and talk about your off-market property, new listing you got.
I have a couple of off-market apartment complexes in the San Fernando Valley. One developer owns 2 properties. One's in North Hollywood. It's a 15-unit, all 3-bedroom, 2-bath, new construction, separate tankless water heaters. It's about a 4.25 cap. It's right off of Laurel Canyon and Hart Street in North Hollywood. They want $7 million for that one, completely off market. He doesn't necessarily need to sell, but if he gets his price, he will. Same builder also has a 26-unit new construction 2017 on Woodman in Van Nuys, all 3-bedroom, 2-bath units with a 6-bedroom house, new construction on the back lot behind it. He had extra 10,000 square foot of lot that has like a strange pie-shaped access to it. So there's a 6-bedroom house for additional income on it behind it. He wants $12.8 million for that one off market. And I have a 34-unit in Van Nuys off of Woodley, right near the Woodley Golf Course in Van Nuys. That is also $7 million. It's built in 1976. It is rent controlled. The previous 2 newer construction ones are non-rent controlled. This one is a separate owner that owns the rent controlled building. He's owned it for a long time. It's been a cash cow for him, and he's concerned about with Prop 15 if his property taxes are going to shoot through the roof. So he's entertaining the thought of selling it so he doesn't get hammered with property taxes. It's incredibly well maintained. It has about a 25 or 30% upside in rental opportunity, and it's been relatively well taken care of. Again, that one's 34 units, and it's $7 million he'll take for it.
Thank you, Zach. Steve, who else do we have? Anyone else? Nicole, you're being quiet.
Michael, I don't think he has a microphone, but he posted in here. He has a listing with Rich Johns, 5 units at 13709 Millbank Street in Sherman Oaks, northwest corner of Millbank and Woodman. 1 2-bedroom, 2-bath house and 4 1-bedroom, 1-bath. List price is 1.625.
Awesome.
Call Michael.
Anyone else?
Yeah, outside of the 44-unit building in Covina, which is available at around $12 million, we have a client who owns a 5-unit and a 6-unit in Hawthorne. He'd be willing to sell them off as like a small portfolio. It's all 3 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, and both have great cash flow. So if anyone has, it'd be 3.5 for both of those for all 11 units, and he's pretty motivated to sell. So if anyone knows anyone looking in Hawthorne, that's available as well.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to share? David, congrats on your recent closing on Owens Mount.
Thank you, sir.
Anything you have coming up or you want to share?
Me and a friend of mine actually have an office building for sale in, it's 3675 Huntington Drive, and I believe it's in El Sereno. I don't really know the details off the back of my head, but it's for $3,650, and we can't seem to sell it. So if anyone looking for an office space, it's empty, it's brand new construction, completely vacant. Yeah, we'll take any offers we can get.
I forgot I have an office building for sale also in downtown LA it's 1300 West Olympic Boulevard. It's a pitching wedge from the Ritz-Carlton next to the Staples Center. It's 55,000 square feet. It's generating 90,000 a month in income. It needs a facelift. That's all it really needs. It's got about 25% upside. They're at 90% vacancy or 90% occupancy. There's also a mixed use component next door that's generating 20,000 a month in income. And that entire property, those two parcels together, can be for $33 million. So that's off market. And you can buy the office building separately for 22 or 23 million, or you can have the mixed use component with it for 33 million for both properties. It's about 46,000 square foot lot, literally just on the other side of the freeway from the Staples Center.
Thank you, Steve. So I'm gonna bring Greg on, but then after that, we will talk about a couple of things we're doing on marketing, focusing. Zach is gonna jump in and educate you what we're gonna do every Monday in social media and email campaign marketing for commercial transaction. And I have an idea that after that you can use for your own social media as well, because believe it or not, I know commercial world has been more like just in the background, cold call only. You can't just focus on one. You got to do a touch up, other stuff that it will generate and add credibility into your business. So we're going to talk about that. We want to make sure we have those resources available. And also we're going to talk about 2021 business planning. And even though we cannot have an in-person business clinic like we used to, but I'm planning to do something in November, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But Greg, can you hear me?
I can.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Good, good. Thanks for doing this today. I'll mute myself. Please introduce yourself. Tell them how long you've been doing this and share some good data with them so they can take advantage of that. And then maybe in the end, we can have Zach or Dan share your contacts with everyone, or you can actually post it on the chat so they can have a direct communication with you.
Sure. So hello, everyone. My name is Greg Burns. A lot of you, I work with quite a few of you. I work for a company called IPX 1031, or Investment Property Exchange. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of Fidelity National Financial. We've been in business for about 27 years. I've been with the company for 21 years. And all we do is facilitate 1031s. What we're seeing in the market right now is the residential market is literally the hottest that I've seen it in probably the 20 years that I've been doing this, or 21 year plus years. It reminds me a little bit of 05, but you don't have the same kind of crazy lending practices, although I am seeing some interesting lending practices to get these deals done. And so, remember that on the residential side, the deals that we're seeing are all investment deals, right? So they're all rental homes, duplexes, triplexes, that kind of stuff. So we're seeing a lot of volume in that market. The commercial market, which is, apartments above 5 units, industrial, net lease. The net lease market has stayed fairly strong. Surprising to me, I thought that market would fall away a little bit because I thought people would be a little bit nervous about retail. But I think that there's a lot of demand for people that want what appears to be a steady flow of income and kind of a passive type of investment. So it's still appealing to a lot of people. Our numbers are probably similar to those that I saw in 05, which was probably the highest numbers that we've seen since I've been with the company. And I would say probably 70% of that nationally is probably residential and 30% of it's commercial. And that's starting to swing back a little bit more. I typically tend to have more of a commercial presence than I do a residential. So I would say I'm probably 60-40, and I would say by maybe this month, the next month, that might be get to 50-50. There's a lot of deals that were under contract and got blown up during the early part of the pandemic that are now starting to come around a little bit. And we are seeing people sell for lots of different reasons. We're seeing people do it for cash flow purposes. We're seeing people doing it for geographic purposes. You know, he makes a very good point in the sense that, you know, if you have a client that's, you know, owns investment properties in, you know, West LA, and they realize that they no longer need to go into the office every day and they've moved to, you know, somewhere else in the country, probably a good idea to talk to them about, you know, potentially moving those assets, you know, into these other parts of the country. So we're seeing a lot of money flow into Texas. We're seeing a lot of money flow into Idaho. We're seeing a fair amount of money flow into Oregon. And then we're also seeing an interesting amount of money flowing into Lake Havasu. I don't know why that is, but recently I've had, you know, like 6 or 7 conversations with people that are, you know, trading into, you know, storage units or, you know, could be just vacation properties that are there. And we're seeing a fair number of people that are doing that. And I think, you know, some of that comes from the idea that, hey, instead of me holding off and waiting to do something, you know, let's just do it now because we don't know, you know, what the world is going to bring us. And so we're seeing kind of a lot of that going on right now. And so I would say last month, I think we did, you know, over 400 deals in Southern California. As a company, we did a couple thousand. So there are, you know, lots of transactions going on. The challenges we see from the transactional side, partnerships. We're seeing a lot of partnerships that are going their separate ways. Partners that want to sell an asset and are want to, you know, go their separate ways. And a lot of it is for estate planning purposes. So a lot of clients you have right now, as they're getting older, they're realizing that, hey, if something happens to me and I own these properties in this partnership with my partner, Joe, I don't know that Joe's going to want to deal with my heirs. And I don't know if my heirs are maybe savvy enough to deal with Joe. So rather than, you know, worrying about that, what I'm going to do is start taking these properties that I own in this partnership. So we're going to start separating out our assets for estate planning purposes. So we're seeing a lot of that going on, a lot of partnerships that are kind of wanting to go their separate ways. If you have a client where you say, hey, have you thought about, you know, what potentially would happen if one of these, you know, people is, you know, your partner's passed away, and they haven't thought about it, it's probably a good time to think about it. And the reason is because what typically happens in these transactions is that client, you know, partners passes away, partners, you know, kids get the property, kids get a step up in basis, they immediately want to sell it, right? Because the kids typically, not always, but a lot of times they're in a different financial position than their parents were. And so they typically want the cash, or they don't want to be a part of the partnership because they don't have a relationship with the partners. And so, and what we found is that even when the partners resist, if they go to court and file a right to partition, almost every time that's granted. So better to, you know, be proactive now and go ahead and separate out those assets and buy other things. We're also seeing a lot of seller financing on deals. Seller financing is very tough when you're doing an exchange because the actual note is taxed as the principal payments are made, so you can't really 1031 exchange a note. So that's something to kind of take into consideration if you have a client that's, you know, selling a property. Now, it could be beneficial to the client. I mean, sometimes I get involved in a deal, and I looked at a deal last week where the client had a pretty attractive note over the course of 7 years. They were able to get a 6%, negotiate a 6% interest rate. And based off that 6%, over the course of the 7 years that they had the note, they probably made enough money on the note to pay their taxes once the note got paid off. So in those cases, I said, you know, you may just want to keep the note and not worry about it. It looks like a pretty good note to me. So you just kind of have to take it on a case-by-case basis. But I would say partnerships, probably seller carryback financing is another one that comes up quite a bit. And then obviously exchanging into different states. You just want to be aware that, as far as 1031 goes, it's open to any other state. California does have a clawback provision. They've always had a clawback provision. And so the idea is the state of California, they said, okay, listen, we'll allow you to sell your property in the state of California and exchange it for a property in another state. Let's say, I don't know, Arizona. So they allow them to defer the taxes. They can go buy a property in Arizona. They don't have to worry about California taxes, no big deal. Well, if they ever sell the property, let's say in Arizona, and don't do an exchange, the state of California always wanted them to come back to them and let them know, hey, I sold this property in Arizona. I know you didn't know about it, but I'm here to pay my taxes. So obviously there were not very many people that were doing that, raising their hand saying, hey, I owe you some money in taxes. And there was really a lot easy way for them to trace it, especially if the taxpayer no longer lived in the state. And so now California has a filing requirement that they're required to file something every year with the state of California, saying basically that they still own that property. Now, there's a very interesting case study that's been going on by me with one of my clients that live in Nevada. About 4 years ago, when this clawback provision came up, this filing requirement came up, he traded all of his California properties out of the state of California into New Mexico, Nevada, and Arizona. He also moved to Nevada. So when this procedure came out, and this deal by the Franchise Tax Board that you have a filing requirement, I went to Tim and I said, hey Tim, what are you guys doing about this filing requirement? Is it how much of a pain is it? Because I know that you just traded a bunch of properties out of California. And he said, well, I'm not doing it. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, I'm a Nevada resident. I don't own any more California real estate. What's the state of California going to do to me? And I said, well, I don't know. Let me know how that works out. So as of now, they haven't done anything to him, but it'll be interesting to see if California kind of comes after him, if he starts selling these assets and cashing out. But as for now, they've not really looked at him. So as far as partnerships are concerned, there's some pretty good guidance that came out with respect to these transactions called drop and swaps, where you drop out of a partnership and swap into a tenant in common structure. We try to get away from that if we can, but if we can't, there is some decent guidance that came out from a Mitchell case that came out kind of at the early part of this year. So I think that covers about my 10 minutes of 1031. But certainly if you guys have any questions, I would like to thank you guys for working with me. I really appreciate it. And if any of you guys have any questions, you're certainly welcome to ask, or you can send me an email, and I'll open up the chat menu and put my contact information in there for those of you that don't have it.
Thank you, Greg. Any of you have a direct question right now you want to ask? Just something that maybe someone else will learn from. If not, if it's a specific for your transaction, maybe you can reach out to him directly. Awesome. So let's move on. Thank you, Greg, again.
Yeah, of course.
Let's move on. I'm going to have Zach speak to you about a few things. On Mondays, we would like to announce your listings and do a mass marketing email campaign. We have a commercial agent database that it is specific for our market share, LA County. It's around 1,000 of commercial agents, and these people are the ones that are in production. So we remove the agents that they don't produce. They have license, but they don't produce. And I'm talking about they're a member of CoStar, they have no transactions. But so what we're gonna do, we're gonna do an email campaign to them, and a specific email that goes from KW Commercial -LA, and it's gonna go over your listing. So if you have a listing, it goes there, this is the part that I believe commercial agents used to hold on to their listings because you could double end it, and there's nothing wrong with it, but you can't do that, I believe, in upcoming market. And especially if you're dealing with a seller that wants the most money and the market it doesn't support, you may want to market it to everyone else. So we want to make sure that resources are available. So with the timing and what you need to do, I'm going to have Zach answer that. And then also, we would like to create a content that it will do a social media post, just list that going in escrow or anything like that. But we can't do that if we don't hear from you. And as you know, Keller Williams model, we're a capping model, and we can't afford hiring 4 more Zachs. And Zach cannot work over the weekend to go over your listings directly. And I know some of you don't submit your listings right away, so I want to make sure you know by law, you have to tell us as your broker what listings you have signed off. You cannot hold on to yourself until you get in trouble. Then you learn, I don't want you to go, because we recently had that incident. So if you have a listing as a broker, we have to know, but more importantly, helps us to create content. So since sometimes we don't know what you have, we don't have your photos, we don't have the descriptions, we don't have, so it's very hard for Zach. And instead of Zach reaching out to individual and say, hey, do you have something? I'm gonna have him take over, talk about what system he has in place, what is he expecting, by when, so you guys can have your assets back, so you can post on your own social media, as well as make sure the email campaign includes your activities. Go ahead, Zach.
Hey everybody, how you doing? We're going to implement, basically what's going to happen is an email is going to go out every Monday, and it's going to ask you if you have any new listings, but we're going to need, a picture of the property. Also for multifamily, a lot of times when we search, it'll say 30 bedrooms, 18 bathrooms. So if you could just provide the units and square footage and price as well for us. What we're going to do is we're going to add it onto our commercial website. Like Karma said, we're going to be sending out a weekly email with our new listings. And then also we're going to post onto social media and then tag you as well, so that you can share it on your page. So just trying to give you guys a little more presence, and also congratulate you when we do have closings. We want to make sure that we recognize you for that. So this email is going to go out on Monday, and then if we don't hear from you by Friday, it's not going to be added onto the page. So just please make sure to respond to the email as soon as possible. And then the email is going to be coming from the front desk, so just keep an eye out from that email for Whitney. And then if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and we're happy to help. Thanks so much.
Any questions? No? Okay. And we're going to move to the last piece. Your 2021 calendar, the actual year, hasn't started in my book. I think the last quarter, when it comes to September and October, is whatever you do today is likely will add to your 1099 for 2021. So if you do want to have a solid January, you may want to focus on what are you going to do today, the month of October. That's where result will follow, right? So recently I found out that it's extremely hard to stay positive in real estate if you have gone through a lot of emotional changes through COVID. I don't care how strong you are. I think COVID, the uncertainty, throwing you off of your the routines. Some of you will go to the gym, some of your grocery shoppings, they're not even, some of you didn't do grocery shoppings, you have to, some of your grocery shoppings are more stressful than you used to. So the people are honking more. So those effects, even though if you have been extremely positive, will have some side effects, right? So what does that mean? If you are the business owner and you're the lead generator and you're the one have to get on the phone and lead generate, it is likely it's not going to be all positive all day. I don't know if you experience, but the mood swings, happy, not happy, and all comes and goes, right? So the question is, how do you get back and make sure you hit your number? Because if you need, your numbers better. You know that you have to do 100 contacts a day. If you work for Marcus & Millichap and you're a brand new agent, you literally do not do anything for 8 hours a day, right? And then they take 75% off of it, right? So this is your moment. I need you to think this is your business. So yes, you don't have to do 7 hours a day. You don't have that leadership here who's going to ask you, why are you leaving the office? But you owe it to your family to spend 2 hours of quality and lead generate. Don't try to say, I'm going to today call Torrance and then I'm going to go a little bit of Eagle Rock. I like 8 units. I'm going to switch to 10 units plus. You got to be very clear. What is your zone and hit it? And we know in commercial it takes longer than residential. And also you got to have a better skill set, because guess what? There is a lot of people calling now. And why you? So this is why brings me the next thing. You've got to focus on your value. So you got to lead generate. Then you have to be very clear. What is your value proposition? And the last thing is, can you actually negotiate? What is your skill set in negotiation? And so the client feels you can. So my comment to you is create a very mini business plan. You don't have to have an intense business plan, but for the next time, I'm going to spend 15 minutes of 2021 business plan for you. We're going to do a little workshop on our call, maybe 15, 20 minutes or 30 minutes, depends how far we will go. But number one, I'd like you to come up is contacts. How many contacts will give you the total GCI you want to make? I don't know your numbers, but let me give you a very simple number so you can work this number. You can plug it and play. If you like to make $100,000 a year and your average commission is 10, you have to close 10 transactions. For the sake of it, I'm going to round it up. So if you want to make 120, your average commission is 10, that's 1 deal a month. Do you follow me so far? For those of you, I don't see your faces because it just says as your name. I'm assuming you're doing this. All right. Number two, if it's 1 deal a month, you know that you have to go to, let's just say, this is hypothetical. Out of your 2 listings, you close 1. So you have a 50% conversion on your closings of the listings you take. So now we know that. Then we know that you go to 10 listings appointment to take 1. And then out of 10 listings appointment that you go, each listing appointment that you get, it's 3 hours of calling. So we have 30 hours to call to get 10 appointments to get 1 listing. So if you need to have 1 closings a month, you just have to you have to cold call 60 hours a month. Divide 60 hours a month, take Saturday and Sunday off, and work it backwards. That's what I want you to know. Those are not my numbers. Those are, you know your numbers. And guess what? I'm not going to check. So you don't lie to yourself. So work it backwards. So first you're going to write how much money you want to make. You're going to do the average commission, divide the transactions. Then we're going to focus on how many transactions that is. Then you're going to be conservative because there is likely you're not going to close every single transaction that you take. So work the numbers backwards. So you need to be extremely clear how many hours will you be prospecting. Before I go to the, topic 2, anyone on this call has a question. Do you understand what I need you to do? Did anyone get confused? Unmute yourself and share. Okay, number 2, you're gonna write your value proposition. And value proposition, please don't do, you're better than a lot of agents out there, so please don't write, I listen well, and I respond to text. Well, avenues, 99% of people are responding to text. Value proposition is why you. Maybe that is because you're CCIM. Maybe you're enrolled in CCIM. Maybe because you closed the biggest deal recently. Maybe you got the most price per square footage on a transaction recently. Or maybe it's because of your team is fantastic. Or maybe you're individual, unlike another agent who has 19 people in their team. That's your value proposition. It's maybe because of you lead generate 3 hours a day to find a buyer for your building, and no one else does that now. Maybe you spend $400 every month on social media, target marketing to consumers that they own an apartment building. Maybe you run $1,000 ad in Business Journal, which by the way, I'm against it, do not do it. But I don't know, come up with a value proposition. Maybe your history, your resume, come up with a value proposition. And if you cannot come up with 3 things in 30 minutes, maybe we should just talk about you team up with someone else or not do real estate, because you got to have a value proposition to survive. And the last is you got the listing, now what? What is your plan? You got to have a plan. You cannot go to take a listing when the sellers right now are smart, they're analyzed, there's more to worry about. They cannot take the risk of, if, as you heard from Greg, they're selling, they're moving their asset. They cannot list with someone who has no plan because they have a target, they have a date, they're more serious. So you got to have a plan. If I have an apartment building, do I want to list with you? If I don't know if I'm going to hear from you for 3 weeks, if it's no news, you still have to communicate with them every week. So in my team, every Friday, every seller knows what's going on. If it means we went live on Wednesday and nothing happened until Friday, an email goes, just say, hey, John, I just want to let you know we've been live. As you know, we have not had any feedback because we have not had any showing, but I'll get back to you next week if anything changes. Have a great weekend. So that's part of the action plan and more, whatever that is. So I want you to come up with 3 things: your numbers, value proposition, and a plan. When you combine all this, it becomes a mini business plan. You got to have it if you want to survive. And pretty much that's for today. I'm happy if you guys want to unmute yourself and ask questions, or I will appreciate feedbacks about what we're doing now. And if not, I appreciate you being on. You can just log out and focus on your day.
I actually had a question for you.
Sure.
I'm a new agent. I've only been licensed for a few weeks, and I have had some conversations with potential leads. And one thing that I've noticed is that when you are talking to a more experienced client, sometimes, like, as just for me, speaking for myself, it can be a little intimidating because I haven't taken any clients before. So in terms of like how you were saying, like, be able to have like a plan and, you know, what's your value proposal and stuff like that. It's when you haven't sold any homes before, or you haven't helped anyone buy a home before. I'm wondering, like, what's your best advice for someone in my position who's new and, you know, doesn't want to come off like I can't help them when I know I have resources that, you know, Keller provides and that I have a mentor and everything, but just in those conversations when my mentor is not there, you know?
Yeah, so I'm happy to help. I think this is more like a commercial team meeting with pretty much whoever has CoStar, has a membership with CoStar. They have a production and they're on a, but I think what I would like to do after this meeting today, have a discussion with you or maybe Dan, because I would like to know who's your mentor and work with you on that specifically. Because yes, you can come up with a value proposition with a mentor, or as a team, or as an office, as a Dimitra included, or Peter, whoever it is. But this specific today's meeting is about commercial agents with productions, and they don't do residential because we don't allow commercial agents to do residential, and we don't allow residential agents to do commercial.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem.
We'll get you help, Ahipsa, with Peter.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No questions? Awesome. Get your business plan together, guys, and please start, because by the time you prepare, this is November and the year starts, because you know what happens in Halloween? Agents take off because it's a Halloween, and then Thanksgiving, family time, holidays, New Year, I don't work. And then January 21st comes and they're like, I'm ready to start my year. And I'm like, well, you're 3 months behind. So start now. So you will have an amazing 2021. Okay. Thank you. Stay safe. And thank you for being on this call. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Herman.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.